So we've all heard of Dominic Cummings. Everyone knows who Dominic Cummings is by this point. However, there are other people, which we're going to bring to light today, behind the scenes. Especially this one guy, because this guy, in my mind, is just as damaging to our country as Dominic Cummings, if not more so. Because the guy that we're going to talk about today is the guy who has been positioned as the expert, the Brexiteer brains, the guy who the Brexiteers go to talk about trade deals with. Now, as we're going to learn, this guy has no experience in any trade negotiations. So why on earth are they going to this guy in the first place? And who are we talking about? Well, today we turn to the Yorkshire Bylines to look into exactly that. Our title is called The Dubious Expert. The Dubious Expert Driving the UK's Post-Brexit Trade Policy. We've all heard of Dominic Cummings. But what about Shikaka Singham? This obscure industry lobbyist has penetrated the inner circles of the deregulatory, the free trade ideologues at the heart of government. Like Cummings, he is unelected and unaccountable. Yet, he has developed close contacts with ministers from the Prime Minister down and is playing a big role in shaping our post-Brexit trading relationship with the EU and the rest of the world. Singham, who has been linked with a US climate change denial lobby, is known in the Westminster circles as the Brexiteers guru. Michael Gove described him as probably the UK's leading expert on trade deals, but an investigation by BuzzFeed suggests that Singham's past achievements have been greatly exaggerated and he has little, if any, experience in negotiating international trade deals. Whitehall insiders have been quoted as saying he's a total clown, while others reportedly know him as Snake Oil Singham. What's clear is that Singham, rather like Johnson, is prone to making extravagant claims that cannot be substantiated and floating simplistic solutions to complex political problems. For example, he claimed that by cutting all ties with the EU and encouraging other countries to do away with restrictive trading practices, the UK could boost the UK economy, could boost the world economy by $2 trillion. And as the Yorkshire Bylines reported last month, he was behind a fanciful solution to Theresa May's Irish border problem, whereby goods could be freely traded between North and South using as a yet unknown technology to avoid customs. It was even suggested that this could be achieved by launching fleets of spy drones or airship to cruise up and down the border. You now see, if you remember when we were talking about this, how we said it was a complete sci-fi Blade Runner, almost cyberpunk fantasy. You cannot replace customs checks with an airship and an army of drones. It's just absolute fanciful lunatics, but you can see why he's become such a favourite amongst the Brexiteers. He makes these ludicrous plans that, sound good, but when you actually get to putting them into practice, they're not even practical. And not only that, but you remember the Leave Alliance have come out and said that anything he does would be deeply corrupt. And that is a Brexit support mechanism. And it's absolutely insane, but he's so trusted by the Brexiteers in this. But there you go. Anyway, it continues. The Oxford-educated Singham was born in London, but cut his teeth as a lawyer and lobbyist in the United States, helping big corporations get around trade barriers in overseas markets. Then, when the Brexit vote was won in 2016, he saw an opportunity. No one in the Leave camp had expected to win. There was no plan. And there were precious few trade experts in Whitehall. After all, the UK hadn't done any trade deals for decades. He moved back to the UK in 2016 to play a leading role in the Legtum, I think that's how you say it, the Legtum Institute, a controversial lobby group owned by secretive billionaire businessman Christopher Chandler, who has been accused in the House of Commons of being under investigation by a French Secret Service with as a suspected Russian agent with links to money laundering. Within weeks of the referendum, Singham had set up a team of foreign experts with direct evidence of trade negotiations, exactly what the UK lacked, who also happened to subscribe to the unfettered free market ideology so sought after by multinational corporations and the hard-right Brexiteers. Lectrum, personally supported by Johnson before he even became Prime Minister, soon became known as the Brexiteers' favourite think tank. According to the Mail on Sunday, Singham co-authored a secret letter by Gove and Johnson sent to then Prime Minister Theresa May, demanding a hard Brexit. The following year, Lectrum, a registered charity, was censored by the Charity Commission for failing to meet the required standards of balance and neutrality, after publishing a highly partisan report calling on the UK to leave the customs union and single market. There was no impediment to Singham, who left Lectum to join the opaquely funded right-wing Institute for Economic Affairs think tank. By this time, he'd forged close ties with hardline Brexiteers at the top of the Conservative Party, holding dozens of meetings with ministers including Boris Johnson and David Davis, and enjoying special relationships with Steve Barker, the former chair of the hard-right ERG group. He also formed close ties with former International Trade Secretary Liam Fox, who appointed him as a member of the Special Committee of Experts. In 2018, he was forced to resign his post after it was revealed that he was simultaneously working for a corporate lobbying firm while still acting as an official government advisor. Fast forward to July of 2020, and he is back in government, this time as a member of the Trade and Agricultural Commission set up by Liam Fox's successor, Liz Truss, to determine animal welfare and environmental standards. Defenders of welfare and environmental standards could be forgiven to concluding that this is akin to putting the proverbial fox in charge of the hen coop. Singham has accused the EU of abandoning science to act on the whim of environmental groups, and has described the EU restrictions on the use of fungicides, pesticides and GM crops and animals as cumbersome. On the vexed question of chlorinated chicken, hormone-injected cattle, or pigs fed on steroids, all banned by the EU but quite legal in the United States, Singham opined in one of his innumerable briefing papers that countries should not discriminate between the products based on how they are produced, further justifying his opposition to stringent animal welfare and environmental controls. He told the Financial Times, "If you're going to take that kind of approach, you should have never left the EU." Well, we have left the EU, and once the final ties are cut with the world's largest trading bloc, we will be forced to do deals with countries that can and will call the shots, because their economies are many times larger than ours. This puts at risk not just our food, animal welfare and environmental standards, but also our workers' rights, consumer protections and the integrity of public services, including the NHS. Despite this, last week's amendment to the trade deal bill that would have given Parliament a vote on any post-Brexit trade deal was defeated by the Tory majority. They literally voted to stop themselves having any say, so that the Mother of Parliaments has been sidelined on an issue of profound importance to our future health, well-being and prosperity. But rest assured, our Singham, the trade expert extraordinaire or snake oil salesman, depending on your point of view, has kept his place at the top of the table. Such is the state of our democracy. And I have to agree, that's really worrying. Because let's go back to what was said there that really highlights something that these guys are trying to do. Because this is an outlandish claim that I do not think you could back it up. So remember, he claims that by cutting all ties with the EU and encourage other countries to do away with restrictive trading practices, meaning getting rid of regulations, tariffs and the like, that the UK could boost the world economy by $2 trillion. Where have we heard this before? Well, rewind the clock all the way back to, as usual, us talking about the fantasies the Brexiteers, especially the Brexit ultras, have about the British Empire. The number one policy that the British Empire introduced was what they called true free trade. The idea was that Britain was just going to unilaterally get rid of its tariffs across the board, and it did so. However, that's not really true today, because you've got to remember Britain at that time had a world-spanning empire. Not only that, it could dictate what was actually coming into the country and what price those should actually be. So when it said free trade, it didn't necessarily say that the colonies could have open and access free trade because it was coming into the UK. Then they might have to pay differences on that. Now, of course, this did indeed work well to the UK's advantage. However, if you look politically at that time, the regulations dropped and then just went back up, because as usual you cannot have wildly running free markets. It just ends up a complete and utter free-for-all. And this is why we should be absolutely worried of what they want to do, because this is going to cause absolute unmitigated disasters, economic disasters that we cannot yet predict, that could be the cause if this guy and Johnson and these free market fundamentalists get their way. This will be an absolute disaster for this country. And they're already talking, as has been suggested, we talked about it last week, about the UK becoming an emerging market. So currently we are classed as what is an advanced economy. The next level down is an emerging market. And that's going to be disastrous for us.